What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So today we're going to be talking about two different game consoles that are not from Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. One made its grand debut online and immediately saw a ton of pushback, and the other one appears to have been abandoned, but not like Blue Point abandoned. This one's actually tangible. We're going to go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a new trademark that was spotted from Nintendo that could be pointing towards Donkey Kong making a return. And we're also going to be talking about the continuing trend from Square Enix for releasing demos with their upcoming games. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with a couple of remasters that have been rumored for a while now. These from Rockstar and Take-Two. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. This from Tez2, saying, as per a reliable source with clear accuracy on Rockstar plans, remasters of GTA 4 and Red Dead Redemption were on the table a few years ago, but Rockstar chose not to proceed with the projects in mind. The poor reception of the trilogy might be a reason behind that decision. The trilogy being for like Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, infamously poor ports of these games in that collection. They've gotten better over time. I don't really know if the reception of those titles would put them off of doing Red Dead Redemption or Grand Theft Auto 4. I think at this time, Rockstar is heavily focused on GTA 6 because, let's face it, when that game does get announced and revealed for the first time, the internet may legitimately just go down. Like, that would be it, because the amount of traffic and hype and excitement online would just be ridiculous around that title. And of course, they're also working on Red Dead Redemption 2 and the online. Sounds like there is going to be a PS5 and Xbox Series version for Red Dead Redemption 2 coming at some time. I just don't know if they feel the need to go back to Red Dead Redemption, which would need a lot of work because there are issues with the code on that. And then GTA 4, like when GTA 6 is coming up, again, it would seem strange in Rockstar's current position with Take-Two looking to make a lot of money and having GTA 6 right in front of them. Maybe this could happen someday in the future, but I'm not counting on it anytime soon. Also, you guys know I like my game manuals, and unfortunately, it's kind of a lost art now. If you get a physical game, you open it up, you don't expect there to be anything next to the disc in that case. But back in the day with like the Super Nintendo, there were some really cool manuals, some good artwork and everything there. Well, it looks like we have a website where you can go on now and you can check out all these Super Nintendo game manuals. Take a look at this. This is right now over on sites.google.com. However, they did back it up over on archive.org. This is from Peebs, saying, for the last 8 years on Twitch, I've been beating every SNES game and found that there really wasn't a good source for SNES manuals available on the internet. Now, they say they've had almost 100 people on the internet submit scans, and they have an entire site set up through Archive for the English language SNES manuals, and it's really, really cool. I went through some of them, and the quality is like top notch. You can basically arrow through it. It does the fun little like leaf over, like the leafing through the manual animation, and I took a look at Super Metroid. Everything looks really, really clean, so hey, you could check them out. I mean, it's great to have this just like preserved completely online because seriously, they have like all of them. There are some that are a bit out there that you can look through too. So it definitely has that nostalgia factor. Make sure you check this one out. Oh, and we just talked a bit about Sony and some of their emulation progress that they appear to be making, at least according to some patents that have gotten out there. Well, now there's an entire job listing that we can see. This was spotted over on Reset Era with LinkedIn. Software development engineer for PlayStation Studios. One part was highlighted as a classics engineer. You would work closely with a group of other engineers, producers, and QA teams to fix bugs, add new features, and develop new emulators. This is for their classics collection on the PS4 and PS5 through that new PlayStation Plus premium service. This then brought into the idea of, wait a minute, a new emulator for like the PlayStation 3 because they have a PS2 emulator, they have like a PS1, a PSP. Well, it'd be Vita or I guess Vita or PlayStation 3, and it's possible. I don't know if I'd look at this, what feels like just a very broad description for a job listing, as like, yes, PS3 emulation. I do think they're working on it though. Just some of the stuff we talked about yesterday and me just thinking about it a bit more. I think it makes sense for more of a future-proofing of this service for them to just develop an emulator on the PS3 that maybe doesn't see the light of day till the end of this generation or even the PS6, but I think it'll eventually happen. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the hottest new game console that's been announced now. The Polium? This was a weird one. It popped up on Twitter, immediately started making the rounds online as people were mostly criticizing it, but, well, take a look at this right here. This was the tweet. We are introducing the Polium 1, a multi-chain console for Web3 gaming. Also, take a look at the logo. Does that remind you of anything? It's like, can we just leave the GameCube out of this for 1 minute here? I mean, come on. We gotta now have the GameCube logo next to Web3 gaming, although they say it's more original than people are making it out to be. I don't know about that. Anyway, we can go over to their website here, Polium 1, the next-gen console for Web3 gaming. They go over some of the features, 4K Ultra HD, which, by the way, I saw this website get edited in real time where I had refreshed the page when I was kind of like paging around looking at everything. It went from 8K to 4K, so yeah, immediately we could see that kind of having some backtracking there, which, I mean, 8K 120, yeah. A scanner for your fingerprint, which this is going to have a wallet tied to it. Ray tracing, we'll see about that. And if you scroll down, they have multi-chain console. You can play games that are built on Immutable X. We have Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, Binance, Wax, etc., etc. They do show off the dashboard where you have a bunch of icons of games most people here have probably never heard of, although there's Axie Infinity, which has gone through the ringer recently in, we'll say, some financial issues when it comes to, well, really just theft. Scrolling down further, we have the Polium 1 controller. It's a controller that is built for Web3 gaming. Some of the features include the fingerprint scanner, which if you have your crypto wallet tied to it, you'd probably want to have some sort of security so you can scan your fingerprint in. A wallet button to quickly access your wallet while in a game. We have breaking news. EA has now announced 4 exclusive titles for the Polium 1. Now, it is really funny, though, to see a wallet button there that pretty much defines the idea of Web3 gaming all at once. Then we have haptic feedback, headphone jack to a voice chat, and sensitive touchpad. I assume that's the large space in the middle above those thumbsticks. And then things get really good with the roadmap. This is for 2022 to 2024, which, remember, we're halfway through 2022 now. The overview shows a Polium Pass, and then a PFP airdrop, staking, game tag, claim, SDK, the Polium wallet through, I guess, just Google Chrome, and then Polium 1. So you might be wondering, okay, what is the pass? What's this airdrop? What's the staking? Well, the way these projects work, and I've had to pay a bit more attention to this Web3 space, considering it seems to be infiltrating gaming quite heavily right now. The Polium Pass is how they're going to allow you to pre-order this console. You'd be buying an NFT. And when the system would come out, you would redeem your NFT by burning it, and then they would send you the console. So it's not even going to be like normal, okay, go to this website, order it, or go to a store and buy it. No, nothing like that. It's all going to be done through blockchain NFTs. And PFP airdrop appears to be their token that they would then attach utility to. You would have staking, I guess, for NFTs and that token. Here's the way these things work, and I've seen this a lot as I've been following this. Projects, specifically games, will say, this is the first time I've seen anyway, where we have a console at the center of things that's being discussed. But let's say there's a game that is being advertised, really fancy website, kind of similar to this one, and we've already seen 8K go to 4K, and things are changing basically with it, and not even able to explain why you would necessarily need this, because the games that they are discussing are already available on PC, and I don't necessarily know if anyone's jumping at the idea to have a game console to tie a wallet to for multi-chain and all these things. But the way this works, there's a really cool looking website. They go through a roadmap that generally starts with some sort of fundraising, in this case, NFTs and tokens and all of this, right? And from there, they will push on towards some ridiculous goal. A lot of times it's a massive, or it's MMO RPG that you've never seen. It's like 4 times bigger than World of Warcraft. And then they get through the funding stages and they look ahead and they realize, wow, this costs a lot more money and it's gonna be a lot more work than we thought. And to be honest, 80 to 90% of the projects just disappear. And that's kind of it. Now, I can't definitively say that the Polium 1 won't come out at some point. I just wouldn't have a lot of confidence in that happening, and I certainly wouldn't put up any money for this, although I'm sure many of you already know that. I mean, the fact that we're looking at a console that's about the size of their controller, that was originally 8K, but now 4K, 120, the logo is a clear ripoff of the GameCube logo. Yeah, not exactly exuding a lot of confidence in a field that is already extremely skeptical from the outside looking in. But there you have it, the Polium 1, the next big game console that supposedly is coming out in 2024. We'll see about that one. Next up, let's talk about an actual video game, that being the Diofield Chronicle. And we saw this during that state of play from Square Enix, and it was shaping up to be like a tactical RPG. They kind of said it was like a simulation RPG with cutting-edge graphics. They've really stressed that. Every single press release, by the way. But we now have a release date. They showed off some like deluxe editions and a full demo. We can see this post up over on Gamatsu. Strategy RPG, the Diofield Chronicle, will launch for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam on September 22nd. And there will be a demo that will launch on August 10th. And they do show off some of the box art here holding it up. And Square Enix will have a collector's edition that includes a board game and a pin set. Pre-orders will be opening on July 7th. The demo, however, and I really like that Square has continued this with, I mean, a ton of their different games. We just talked about the Live Alive demo that got out there. That's a really cool thing to check out. But the demo will feature the full first chapter of the game, and the save data will indeed carry over to the game when it launches. And during this announcement, they just played the game for like an hour. So there is a ton of gameplay to check out, and it did have those feelings of Final Fantasy Tactics at times where your character would do the big like the big board clearing moves, and it would zoom out and you kind of get a glimpse of like the side of the stage. It just reminded me of back in the day with the summons for Final Fantasy Tactics. But it also looks like it's very, very in-depth, a lot of strategy around this game. So I'm certainly going to be checking out the demo to see if it is kind of that tactical style that I would be into. And hey, if I am, you play through the first chapter and then you pick up the game and move your save data over. I really like that Square has just continued this trend going forward, and I hope they keep doing that, because games like this, or even you could say Live Alive, which I mean was like a new intellectual property for a lot of people, it is harder to sell people, especially on like a tactical RPG like this, on the idea of picking it up at full price. But if you get a demo and you like it, hey, you'll just go out and pick it up. So hey, good on Square for having these demos consistently for years now. And hey, good on them for showing the game off for a solid hour and everything. It's looking pretty good, especially for fans of some of the older tactical RPGs from like the PS1 era. Next up, let's talk about a new trademark that was spotted from Nintendo. We can head over here to Twitter. This from K-Rule saying Nintendo has updated the trademark for Donkey Kong. Rather than being a routine extension of an existing trademark, this is a new trademark with updated verbiage pertaining specifically to video games, including downloadable programs for portable and electronic consoles. All right, so we've heard a lot of rumors, speculation, all this stuff around a new Donkey Kong game coming out at some point for the Switch. And I would like to see that, especially if we can get what we've been seeing for many of Nintendo's franchises this generation, like that big moment for it, like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, the best Kirby game I've ever played, and they took it into that 3D realm, not complete 3D like we see with Mario Odyssey, but still, it was a massive step forward for the Kirby franchise. I'm curious if we would see something similar for DK, since we've heard rumors around a new title where it's like 2.5D, some were saying it's kind of 3D. If it does skate that line though, like we see with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, that could be a really big release for Donkey Kong, something that's kind of fallen by the wayside. I know Tropical Freeze, it's a very good game. It's also a Wii U port, right? So like it would be nice to see them really push things with the DK franchise here on the Switch, where it has this large audience that it could appeal to. And if you look at the trademark, it's pretty obvious they're saying downloadable programs for portable and electronic devices. Well, I mean, that sounds like they'd be describing something like the Switch, or I guess they could be describing a cell phone. What if Nintendo, after all of this, we hear these rumors around a new DK game, and it ends up being a new cell phone game, like their next Mario Run or something there. I hope that would be that Switch title. That would be a cool reveal, like in a fall direct. I don't know if it would make it out this year, but I kind of feel like Donkey Kong is a franchise where they could announce it and then it comes out 3 months later. Think of like what they did with Paper Mario, where they announced it on Twitter and then just came out months later. I think you could do the same thing here for Donkey Kong. So I have my fingers crossed that we see that, because that'd be a fun way to kind of round out the holiday release schedule that Nintendo's been building. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about another game console not from Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony, that being the Intellivision Amiico. I first talked about the system when it was revealed because it was interesting. It's like, oh, Intellivision is coming back. And then the more they talked about the system, the less and less sense it made to me at all. I mean, the concept was weird. I had no idea what demographic or who they were trying to market to, and there were a lot of restrictions around developers and how your game had to be to release on the platform. Is very, very strange. Now it looks like we could be coming to an end for the Intellivision saga, as the Trademark has actually had an abandonment filed. We can see this post up by VGC. They went ahead and screen capped it, made it easier for us, so shout out to them. Where we can see the original publication date was back in 2019, that's September 24th. And then the date abandoned was actually 2 weeks ago, June 20th, 2022. It's to my understanding, though, they still have several weeks to essentially be able to extend this or re-up it so that they will be able to retain the Intellivision Amiico trademark. However, based on a lot of recent developments, I'm thinking they're probably moving on. There have been a lot of reports around them having significant staff reduction. And I mean, they're having a hard time just processing refund requests. This was from CEO Phil Adam, who said, because of reduced staff and financing requirements for continued operation, our responses to and processing of these requests have been delayed. Rest assured that our intention is to honor all refund requests. I mean, obviously, when you get to a position where you can't process refunds for people who have pre-ordered the system, bit of a problem there. Not a lot of confidence. They have done things like unbox the system on camera for a YouTube video. That seemed to shock everyone that there was an actual system somewhere. I mean, they have prototypes, dev kits and stuff, sure. But when I saw that video, and the reason I even really talk about it is because it came off more as a, hey, will someone please invest in us? Look, we have an idea for a product. It's physical. It's right here. It wasn't necessarily a video saying, hey, we got them, guys. Don't worry. We're going to be shipping these things out en masse here soon. So I think this, to me, is the end of the Intellivision Amiico saga, and what an interesting one over the last several years. It really shows how hard it is to launch a console now. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you think we'll ever have another big company take a serious shot at making a console to rival Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft? 42% said yes, 58% said no. It's tough because consoles cost a lot of money, a ton of planning. I mean, you got to R&D the thing completely from the ground up. It's just, there's a lot of commitment there. If Google didn't want to do it, they just want to do streaming, that tells me that there are probably a lot of companies who have thought about it, but then said, nah, this is too much. It's not really worth it. And it's tough going up against, I mean, the storied history of Nintendo or Sony or even kind of Microsoft at this point. I know Microsoft came in 2001, but they've developed some big franchises that people will look at and say, okay, that's Xbox, right? Whereas Apple, Amazon, Google, what game franchise do you then put next to them? So I think the days of seeing like Microsoft burst onto the scene, or even like Sony in the mid-90s just show up and take over, those days are probably long past. If anything, we might see that 20 years in the future with streaming. Hard to say, really. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jay, saying, would definitely get it myself if it came over. With how my fan is acting up when I'm dock mode, it would help. I'm constantly playing it in handheld, and I've noted the fan has had to work harder than usual to keep it cool when playing it. Okay, so if your fan is working harder in the Switch, a lot of times that has to do with dust buildup on the other side of the heatsink that you can't necessarily see from the vent at the top of your Switch. You can see an image here that I found online with iFixit, where there's this small opening with that fan. Dust, dirt, everything will just kind of get stuck in there, build up, and create sort of a wall that makes it harder for your fan to push air through. If you can break it down by taking the back panel off of your Switch, you'll need a tri-wing screwdriver. You can get an idea as to how much is in there by looking through the fins on the fan when it's off. If you see some buildup in there, you'll have to break down a little further, maybe take the fan out. You just kind of pull away any of the dust bunnies and stuff that have built up, put it back together, and your system should be able to breathe better, which means the fan won't have to work overtime to get air through. But I think it's definitely worth checking out, because generally that's what will happen with all different types of consoles, not just the Switch. Just over time, years and years of dust buildup just makes it harder for the system itself to breathe. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the Polium 1. Definitely not a ripoff of that GameCube logo. No, a console for Web3 gaming that can change the world. What do you think about that system, though, down below? And then also, what about Donkey Kong? A new trademark from Nintendo popping up. We hear about, like, the theme park stuff for DK. Do you think a new game is coming soon? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.